Appropriation bill to obtain 55 million rupees passed with a majority of 2 votes in Parliament.
Palitha Thevara Peruma and Prasanna Ranavira suspended from Parliament for 1 week. Footage of the altercation released to the media.
Search for the missing monk following the landslide in Parahiyangala called off due to bad weather.
President instructs officials to take firm decision in order to protect the environment.
All Ceylon Peasants Federation alleges that the farmers have not been given fertilizer nor the funds for the harvesting season. Subject Minister responds.
Good evening and welcome. This is a Primetime News. We're coming to you live and direct from our Newsfirst studios in Colombo. I am Sonali Wanigabadude.
A very good evening. I'm Ramesh Bandara.
Well, the Capital Maharaja organization spearheaded the UN World Humanitarian Summit's Sri Lanka initiative today.
State News first, as we have a comprehensive report on the program later on in the news. On to our top story tonight. Speaking at the inauguration of the 6th National Symposium on Air Quality Management in Sri Lanka today, President Maithripala Sirisena called on firm decisions to be made on environmental protection and conservation.
The symposium is jointly organized by the Ministry of Mahaveli Development and Environment, Air Resource Management Centre and the University of Moratuwa. The 2-day symposium is being held under the title Air That We Breathe. The symposium will provide a forum to present and discuss the most recent technological, scientific and policy development associated with air pollution problems and management of air resources. The first copy of the action plan for clean air in 2025 was presented to the President. The powerhouses of the world have started to panic, so they constantly host world summits. It is needless to say that certain main cities in highly developed countries in the world today have fallen into a situation where they are compelled to purchase bags of oxygen for survival. If you take our country, every one of you is aware of the fact that most severe case of air pollution prevails in the city of Kandy. I remember when I was Minister of Environment back in 2005, the city with the highest level of air pollution in Sri Lanka was Colombo. All these institutions present here must take all required and respective measures. We will regret it if we await until tomorrow. Do we allow our country to fall into a point where we too will have to purchase bags of oxygen from the stores? Or are we to postpone this as much as possible?
The government secured victory in the vote which was called for in Parliament in order to obtain a supplementary sum not exceeding 55 million rupees. 33 votes were cast in favour while 31 votes were cast against. Following the vote, members of the opposition stood up from their seats as a mark of protest.
Speaker Karujaya Surya announced today that the parliamentary services of 2 public representatives will be suspended for a period of 1 week over the altercation which took place in Parliament on Tuesday.
Accordingly, the parliamentary services of Deputy Minister Palitha Thevara Peruma and UPFA parliamentarian Prasanna Ranavira were suspended. Meanwhile, footage of the incident was released to the media today.
සරත්සිල්ලට නියම කරේ ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ මම ඒ වෙලාවේ ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ ඉස්සරහා වාඩි වෙලා හිටියා ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ කිව්වා පොලිසිය හැදෙන්නේ his name mentioned here අවස්ථාවලුන්නේ ඒ කරපු නිසා වාඩි වෙන්න ජානක පෙරරගේ ජීවිතේ ඝාතනය වුණා ඒ යුතුයි ආරක්ෂක ලේකම්ලා ආරක්ෂක ලේකම්ට පත්තු කරපු බෝම්බේ ජනාධිපතිගේ ආරක්ෂාව කරන ගමන් මිනිමරුන් සඳහා උදවලා තියෙනවා विशेष आरक्षण लबा ගැනීමට යා ගරු සභානායකතුමා අදාළ නිරීක්ෂණයට අනුව මෙම සිද්ධිය ආරම්භ
According to the observations, the cause for the incident flare-up was a group of parliamentarians seated in the opposition party and the disruption of parliamentary sessions by MPs who entered the main aisle of the chambers. Thereafter, the severe incident occurred when a group of ruling party MPs also entered the main aisle of the chambers, causing this tense situation to brew. From among the MPs responsible for this incident, the parliamentary services of Honourable MP Palitha Kumara Thevara Peruma and Honourable MP Prasanna Ranavira have been temporarily suspended for a period of 1 week for the severe unruly behaviour within the parliamentary chambers under sections 74.2 and 72.1 of the standing orders. I request the leader of the House to present a resolution to this House in this regard.
මන්ත්‍රීවරුන්ගේ පාර්ලිමේන්තු සේවය එක් සතිකාලික තාවකාලික අත්හිටීමට අවශ්‍ය යෝජනාවක් මේ සභාවට ඉදිරිපත් ලෙස සභානායකතුමාගෙන් ඉල්ලා සිටිමි.
ඔබතුමා විසින් දෙන ලද නියෝගය
We very respectfully accept the order. Thereby, I present to this House the resolution to temporarily suspend the parliamentary services of Honourable MPs Palitha Kumara Thevara Peruma and Prasanna Ranavira for a period of 1 week.
මේ සභාවට මම ඉදිරිපත් කරමි. දැන් මේ සිද්ධියේදී
It was former Minister Dinesh Gunawardena who directed the issue of the former President's security to you in this House. He expected an answer from you.
සභාවට මේ කාරණා ඉදිරිපත් කළේ හිටපු ජනාධිපතිතුමාගේ ආරක්ෂාව පිළිබඳව. අපි පිළිතුරක් බලාපොරොත්තු වුණේ එතුමා ඔබතුමාගෙන්. අග්‍රාමාත්‍ය නෑ
මම පිළිතුරු දෙන්න. ගරු සභානායකතුමා මම පිළිතුරු දෙන්න දෙන්න මේ කියන්නේ
මට කතා කරන්න. නෑ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ හිටපු ජනාධිපතිතුමාගේ ආරක්ෂාව ගැන.
Are we to speak about the former President's security in Parliament every day? Isn't there anything else?
ගරු සභානායකතුමා අවස්ථාව දෙන්න. let him talk. I'll reply. කතා කරන්න.
ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන් ගරු කතානායකතුමනි ඔබතුමා විසින් අවධානය යොමු කරා අග්‍රාමාත්‍යතුමාගේ.
දැන් අපි මේ කතා කරන්නේ ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන් නෙමෙයි මේ කතා කරන්නේ සිද්ධිය සම්බන්ධයෙන්.
ඒකට මේක අදාළ වෙන හැටි මම කියන්නේ.
පිළිතුරු දෙන්නම් අපිට මේක ගැන අදාළ
ඒක වෙන් කරන්න බෑ.
මේක ගැන විවාදයක් කරන්න බෑ. මම පළමුවෙන්ම කියන්න කැමතියි මේ වාර්තාව.
We cannot make this a debate. I would like to first say that we received this report from the Deputy Speaker and Deputy Chairman of committees. We have also looked at the report provided by the security units and we have placed our utmost trust on these two reports. This matter was also broadly discussed at the party leaders meeting this morning.
ඒ වගේම අද පක්ෂ නායකගේ රැස්වීමේදී මේ ගැන දීර්ඝව සාකච්ඡා කළා.
වෙනත් മന്ത്രിවරයෙකු ප්‍රකාශයක් කිරීම.
නෑ එතන ප්‍රශ්නේ නෑ. ඒක අපි බාහිර කරලා දුන්නා.
ඒක රීතියට අදාළ නෑ. නෑ මේ ගැටුමේ
හරි let me reply that.
ගැටුමේ මූලික
තත්ත්වය අවස්ථාව දුන්නා ආරක්ෂක කටයුතු සම්බන්ධයෙන් දින කරුණු පැහැදිලි කිරීම සඳහා සරපොන්සේක මැතිතුමාට. එතනින් එහාට මට පිළිගන්න අමාරුයි.
ඒක දෙන්න ඕන ඔබතුමා.
හරි දැන් ඇති වань පිළිවෙල.
කතානායකතුමනි
ගරු සභානායකතුමා
ගරු කතානායකතුමනි.
Honourable Speaker, everything is recorded on CCTV cameras. You took this decision based on this footage. The people of this country have to understand this. We have to grant this opportunity to the people of the country. Everything that happens in these chambers are recorded on camera. So what I request from you now is to release this footage to the media to give the general public a better understanding of what transpired. So then, Honourable Speaker, the media would understand what happened here.
We got the authorization to do that and we are acting on it.
In the interests of the dignity and decorum of this House, and to ensure that we do not have a repetition of such behavior in the future, we do not prolong this matter any further, and that we accept the resolution moved by the leader of the House and lay this matter to rest.
I earnestly appeal through you to both sides of the House. You see, the dignity of the House is, individual members' dignity and the entire House's dignity depends on these matters being resolved within this chamber and by you as a custodian of our rights. And we need not take this outside this chamber.
We have never insulted you like that. I constantly said that we raised the objection of the fact that Sarath Fonseca made a prepared and written speech. It was MP Palitha Thevara Peruma who launched the first attack. I was the one who held him down. So after MP Thevara Peruma launching the first attack, it is us who is being blamed for it.
I table the resolution to temporarily suspend the parliamentary services of Honourable MP Prasanna Ranavira for a period of 1 week.
සභාව එකඟද?
Yes.
I am pleased that we were able to take the decision in quite a legal manner. You entered the main aisle disregarding my orders not to. This has been brought to an end through dialogue, so this shall not be debated any further.
You have to forgive me, Honourable Speaker, but the report on this incident was issued to the media yesterday, so I believe that it would be best if you inform this House as to how this report got released to the media.
Honourable MP, this report did not leave these chambers in any official manner, but I will launch an inquiry into that.
Honourable Speaker, it is not good for your name if your report goes to the hands of the thief.
Thank you very much for bringing that matter up. I will look into it.
Most Venerable Anamadwe Dhammadasi Thera was appointed as the new Anunayaka of the Askiri chapter of the Siam sect. The appointment was made following the Sangha Sabha meeting, which was held at the chambers of the Askiri Viharya. Prior to this, the Most Venerable Thera served as the registrar of the Askiri chapter. The credentials of the new Anunayaka will be presented on the 17th of this month. The United Nations Connecting Business Initiative Sri Lanka, which is being held ahead of the inaugural World Humanitarian Summit, which is set to get underway on the 23rd of March in Istanbul, Turkey, was held at Stein Studios in Ratmalana today. The initiative is spearheaded by the Capital Maharaja Organisation Limited.
The most comprehensive humanitarian summit of its kind will take place in Istanbul this May. The summit will aim to discover new ways on addressing the humanitarian needs in our fast-changing world, and in preparation a series of consultations are held the world over. Organizations, groups and individuals with their humanitarian mandates will congregate to advise and discuss humanitarian challenges and propose solutions. Consultations will enable the participants to contribute and collaborate on ideas on humanitarian matters. It is in such a backdrop the Capital Maharaja Organisation Limited organised the Connecting Business Initiative Sri Lanka at the Stein Studios in Ratmalana.
In every country it seems there's often one transformative event, a crisis that spurs action, and I know in Sri Lanka this is often referred to as the case, and this is something that's been talked about really strongly as a catalysing factor in the impact of bringing networks of private sector and other civil society actors together. There's been a really strong desire to learn and to share, and to recognise the fact that businesses are often very well engaged with governments and with communities, way better than the UN system or other stakeholders often are. That this is not about any one agency or any one government saying we've got all the answers. This is really about everyone, coming together and actually recognising the collective strengths and weaknesses.
Following the dialogue this morning, the stakeholders agreed on framework for Connecting Business Initiative Sri Lanka, develop a structure on foundational documents, develop an initial work plan, develop an initial meeting with regional and global counterparts, and create an operate portal. Incidentally, the Capital Maharaja Organisation Limited is the only private organisation in Sri Lanka that has been invited by the United Nations to attend the World Humanitarian Summit 2016, which will take place from the 23rd to the 24th of May in Istanbul, Turkey.
Donors are now gradually phasing out of Sri Lanka. The UN and international agencies are no longer having the funds to respond. So it relies on local actors like private sector, like government, like civil society to respond. So we need this kind of network to actually ensure that all of us can work collectively to address the people in need.
With this UN involvement, this Connecting Business Initiative will help us to expand this network to further enhance all the private sector involvement in this disaster management initiatives.
It's very important for us to have a common platform wherein we can have that space where we can discuss and implement programs for the benefit of the various businesses and communities around the world.
I think the MTB should be complemented for playing host to this event, and going back to CHA and APAD, the initiatives should be commended as well, and I hope we can take it up from here. Maybe it's at the preliminary stage, but with the support of the MTV we should be able to take it up to the next level.
The launch of the World Export Development Forum 2016 took place in Colombo today. The forum will be held on the 12th and 13th of October.
The 16th edition of the World Export Development Forum, co-hosted by the International Trade Center Geneva and the Ministry of Development Strategies and International Trade through the Export Development Board, is meant to create a platform for increasing trade.
We are now in the process of reversing the legacy of a policy framework which disproportionately favored producing for our small domestic market as against selling to regional and global markets. We have clearly had a deeply misguided set of policies when one considered that Sri Lanka's domestic market amounts to only about 20 million people. Our government's priority now is to build a framework which accelerates growth for a decade or more and creates higher value employment through invigorating our export performance. We have set ourselves a target of increasing exports of goods and services to $30 billion in 2020.
Sri Lanka is very strategically positioned between today's growth poles in East and South Asia and tomorrow's growth poles in Africa. And I can think of no better place for ITC to hold its flagship event than Sri Lanka. But the B2B meetings organized as part of WEDF here in Sri Lanka will show the international corporate community a country that is ready to do business. When the Prime Minister made his economic policy statement, he said that enabling business, and in particular small and medium enterprises, to enter global markets was a priority agenda of this government to create jobs, increase incomes and reduce inequalities, and we salute that.
The official website of the World Export Development Forum 2016 was launched at the event.
Speaking to The Banker, an online economic and financial platform, Minister of Finance Ravi Karunanayake expressed the following views during the 2016 ADB meeting held in Frankfurt, Germany.
In the previous Rajapaksa government, what in your opinion went wrong?
I would say that it was just a democracy that was there. They thinking that they'll be there for life. So as a result, they fashioned it in a dictatorial manner. And there the return was only corruption and not return to revenue of the government. So with that you had a lot of illusionary projects that came about, which was more political in nature, and they basically pumped in billions where the actual cost was millions. So you can see the balance go into corruption, but the people have to pay for the total billions that have been taken.
And you actually mentioned in one of the seminars here that you're actively trying to follow dubious capital outflow from the country, but you're actually, it's not so much the tracking that's the problem, is that when you do track, those other countries are not necessarily sharing information about who is doing this capital outflow.
It was when we find that there has been a trail of money's gone out of the country, it goes into 3-4 countries, and when you ask them, please respond with banking information, give us the bank numbers, stony silence is there. So they pontificate on one side clean governance when they don't themselves do it, because they'll have outflight that is there. So these are the areas that we developing countries find hard to grapple with, and sometimes the duplicity is something which is unbearable to take on when especially poor, vulnerable economies like us.
Now, recently the IMF agreed to giving Sri Lanka $1.5 billion in loan to try and avoid a balance of payments crisis. Now, this has strong conditionalities. Basically, tax revenue has to go up, spending has to go down. And you also hinted this week that maybe these conditionalities are not necessarily tailored perfectly to Sri Lanka. What is your comment on
Yes,
that?
I mean, you go to a bank at the time of need, and if you come out completely bashed up, then what's the purpose of going in there? I mean, firstly, governments are elected by human beings, and there's a sense of expectation. Now, if you are not part of what is running down the economy, you're bringing clean governance onto the table, you're bringing fiscal discipline that is expected, and you have to confront with the past sins that is brought forward and not carried forward, then why should you be punished? And that is exactly we as the new government have to confront with.
The search for the Thero reported missing following a landslide in the Parahiyangala mountain in Pambahinna, Balangoda was called off due to heavy rainfall. Today, security forces evacuated people residing in the surrounding area following another landslide in the Parahiyangala mountain.
Yesterday, the security forces spearheaded a search and rescue to locate the missing Thero who was residing in the Niyatagala Aranya Senasana during the time of the landslide in the Parahiyangala mountain. The search yesterday resulted in the discovery of a bedsheet, planks and parts of concrete believed to be part of the wall of the Aranya Senasanaya. The half an acre, which was buried in mud and earth, was inaccessible and manual labour had to be used to reach the location.
The area is experiencing a heavy rainfall since last evening. Thereby we suspended the search and rescue. Based on the request made by the relatives of the missing Thera and the monks from the Aran in Sasania, we have decided to call off the search.
As this area was prone to landslides, around 30 families from the Niandakala Hurgasmul villages were asked to evacuate. However, the residents say if they are to evacuate, they must be provided with a proper solution. We have no other lands. Where are we to go? If we have another place to go and live, we will do so.
Last night we were informed by police that we must evacuate and that we will be given food and water. However, nothing was given.
The National Building Research Organisation has informed 32 families living in the Mayfield estate in Hatton to evacuate as the area is prone to landslides. Huge cracks could be seen in the mountain range. The people who have been asked to evacuate have been temporarily relocated in the library. The people who have been asked to evacuate have been temporarily relocated to the library in the Mayfield estate and a building in the area. They are asking us to evacuate. Where are we to go? We have nowhere to go. Ask them to give us some houses.
There are 31 houses here. There are around 150 people living here. How can houses be given to all? No one is taking responsibility. They ask us to evacuate, but where are we to go now?
The general public is of the view that when people fall victim to natural disasters, requesting them to relocate, leaving behind their lands without providing a just, reliable and practical solution only increase the existing burden on the people.
In September 2014, the landslide in Miriyabedda claimed 37 lives and left many people without shelter. Those who lost their houses were temporarily moved to the Makanda camp in the Ampitiya estate. The 97 families in this camp spend their days in 55 rooms, which only cover an area of 10 square feet. These people who moved to Ampitiya were compelled to let go of their education and employment due to the difficulty in travelling back and forth for 20 kilometers. Before tragedy struck Miriyabedda, authorities had instructed the people to evacuate. However, as they were not provided with a just solution, they remained. Following the landslide, authorities promised the survivors a house within 3 months. Yet, they continue to live in this camp. We visited the Makuldeni area in Punagala, where houses for these individuals are being built. We saw that 61 houses have almost reached completion. The land area allocated for 14 more houses were cleared today as well. Construction of 61 houses are almost over. We did not have sufficient land for the construction of another 14 houses. Preparation for the construction of those houses are taking place. Once the construction is complete, we will hand these houses to the people. The Sri Lanka Army is handling the construction under the advice of the District Secretary.
Maubima, which is a prominent daily national newspaper, won several international awards at Goa Fest 2016, which was held recently in Goa, India.
Incidentally, the Maubima newspaper won 3 gold awards at the event. The award was for an advertisement published in the Maubima newspaper aimed at the Vesak festivities by Sarva Integrated.
In the newspaper industry today, we are rising with more creative ideas. These accolades show that the Maubima newspaper is moving ahead in popularity, sales and creativity in this industry today.
The All Ceylon Peasants Federation today alleged that farmers are yet to be provided with fertilizer subsidy for the Yalla harvesting season.
Harvesting for the yellow seasons has commenced across the island. The government is to provide the farmers with the fertilizer subsidy. In the recent days, the agrarian community opened bank accounts. However, deposits have not been made to these accounts. The farmer cannot even purchase fertilizer on his own because there are shortages of fertilizer in the markets. The fertilizer is for 3 weeks. By this time, the farmlands need to have been sprayed with the urea fertilizer. This must have been done in another week's time. At this rate, there is no fertilizer to be added to the farmlands. There is nothing. The farmers are helpless. The vegetable farmers have to pay at least 3,000 rupees for fertilizer. On the 10th of this month, we will be providing the farmers with an agrarian aid as a replacement for the fertilizer subsidy. The event will be presided over by the President. Allegations have been made by certain groups over the delay. Before making allegations, these groups must think as to whether the farmers had provided us with the detail on the designated days. There are some who called on the farmers to delay in providing information. If there is a delay, the responsibility does not fall with the government or the Ministry of Agriculture or the Minister of Agriculture. It falls on the political groups that led these demonstrations as well as the other organizations.
The death of Marilyn Monroe, considered an icon in the American film industry in the late 50s and the early 60s, has incidentally led to a new controversy. This is after a retired CIA agent had confessed on his deathbed that he had killed Marilyn Monroe.
Born on the 1st of June in 1926, Norma Jean Mortensen later changed her name to Marilyn Monroe with her entrance to showbiz in Hollywood. Marilyn Monroe was first married to James Jim Doherty just after she had turned 16 years. While she has an extensive list of lovers, she was married to famous baseball player Joe DiMaggio and American playwright and essayist Arthur Miller after a divorce of her first husband. Her list of lovers included A-listers from the political and the entertainment arena, including the 35th President of the United States of America, John F. Kennedy, and his brother Robert Kennedy. On the 5th of August 1962, Marilyn Monroe died of a barbiturate overdose in Los Angeles. This is proved in the post-mortem that was carried out. Despite the coroner's verdict, several conspiracy theories suggesting murder or accidental overdose have been proposed since the mid-1960s, and they continue to surface even up to date. Monroe's body was found lying face down, naked, on her bed at her house in Brentwood. It was later revealed that a completely empty bottle of Nembutal was found near her body, with one hand pointed towards the receiver of the bedside telephone. Half a decade later, details of her death comes to the spotlight with the story of a confession that is said to have been made by a retired CIA officer. A 78-year-old retired officer, Norman Hodges, claims he committed 37 assassinations for the American government between the year 1959 and 1972, including the actress and model Marilyn Monroe. Hodges, who worked for the CIA for 41 years as an operative with top-level security clearances, claims he was often employed as a hitman by the organization to assassinate individuals who could represent a threat to the security of the country. Hodges says that Marilyn Monroe remains unique among his victims as she is the only woman he has ever assassinated. He claims he has no regrets, however, as he says that she had become a threat for the security of the country and had to be eliminated. Hodges has gone on to say that he received orders.
Well, that's a wrap up Primetime News for tonight. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Ramesh Bandara.
And I'm Sonali Wanigabavige. Good night.